What's up everybody, Brian here in the lab. Thanks for joining me today. We're doing a product review video of the ZooMed ReptiFogger. So before I start opening this guy up, let's talk a little bit about why you might want one of these as an addition to your crested gecko's cage. Now these are good for all kinds of reptiles, crested geckos included, especially because crested geckos like higher humidity levels, and these are great for boosting that humidity level without using a spray bottle every day, without getting a bunch of water spots. Whoops, I just knocked my guy's food dish down. Sorry buddy, I'm excited. Anyways, these are a great option to boost that humidity level in your cage, help your geckos out. They shed better, they're healthier, it'll stimulate their appetites, they'll eat more. Overall, it's what your geckos need. So if you struggle with your humidity levels, or you're just tired of using the old spray bottle every day, twice a day, whatever it is, this is a good option to look into a fogger like this. Let's go ahead and bust this guy open. I'm going to show you everything that comes in the box. We'll talk about it and then I'll get into some of the features of this guy. I have not opened this yet, so this is the first time I've seen this. I bought this just at my local PetSmart, maybe Petco, I don't remember which one. I saw it there, I picked it up, I thought it'd be good to do a review on. So I have not had much experience with this. We're going to learn together, though I did do some research on it, so I know some of the specs and features and how it works. Let's bust this guy open and see what we've got. Looks like that's it in the box. So this is going to be a reservoir bottle where the water sits, instruction booklet here, and this is your hose. So this is what attaches to the actual machine that creates the fog, and then this is what leads the fog up into your cage. I believe this hose, if I am not mistaken, stretches anywhere from 10 to 32 inches. Let's see, so that, yeah, it's about 10 inches. And then 32 inches, that's a decent distance. Not too bad. I wish it was a bit longer to give you more flexibility on where to place this and still have the tube reach your cage, though that may be limited by the fan speed because there's a fan inside that blows the fog up to get it to come down inside your cage. And then here's the main components. Let's open this up and check this guy out. So it looks fairly simple and self-explanatory. So we've got a bottle here that you fill up, screw this guy on top, and then as you can see, there's a compression spring here. That way your bottle doesn't leak. When you set it on there, pops it open, your water drains in, on and off, and then underneath here, there is an ultrasonic fog maker. You see these a lot in like decorative fountains. Sometimes you'll see these where the mist comes out of the fountain. Same exact deal. It's just built into a contraption that'll put it into your gecko cage. Also, you can see here, there's a float inside here, this white float. That's the automatic shut-off system. So that's particularly nice because these ultrasonic foggers, when there's not water on them and they run, they burn themselves out. I used to use these a lot back in the day before they made fancy versions of this. I would buy the ultrasonic piece from like a craft store meant to be used in fountains and kind of make my own, but it was hard because when there's no water on them, like I said, it burns it out. So this is nice because it's got an automatic shut off. When the water runs out, the fog won't run anymore. So fairly simple, couple pieces. One of the big things I'm noticing now that I like is how easy this would be to clean, because you are going to have to clean these. If you live in an area with hard water, the ultrasonic part will get hard water calcium buildup on it, and that'll stop it from working. Eventually over time it'll put out less and less fog and eventually stop working altogether. So being able to clean these regularly is a very important feature, and this being one solid piece like this, that would be real easy to get in here with a sponge, get all that calcium and buildup out of there from the hard water. And then it's just got one piece that sits on top and the bottle. So I do like how simple this is. It's not the most attractive piece ever. So sitting next to your cage, if you're real worried about aesthetics and you design your cages to look good as display pieces, it's just not the most attractive piece. However, You can always put it behind your cage where it's not going to be as noticed, and that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Just something to keep in mind. As you can see on the front here, you can hear it click on and off, and then you've got a gauge for how much fog you can adjust how much it's putting out. So that's nice too. I believe this one, from the research I did, it'll run on max volume. This guy will run and output fog for about 12 to 14 hours, which is not a terribly long time. However, you don't want to run it all the time because that's not good for your animals. I do wish they had a bigger reservoir on it because there's obviously plenty of space here. You could put some sort of bigger reservoir on here. They just chose not to. You get a 1 liter bottle with this guy. However, if you're running it on, say, medium setting, I would put it right in the middle on medium setting. And the way I would use one of these is to hook it up to a timer. So ideally, this would be hooked up to a timer, and I would do every 4 to 6 hours, have this guy kick on for half an hour. So hook it up to a normal wall timer like you would use for your lights when you go on vacation. Every 4 hours, have it kick itself on, run for half an hour, and then have the timer shut it off. That way your gecko every so often, 4 times a day or so, is getting a 15-20 minute, half an hour spray of fog. It raises that humidity level. It'll give them a little bit to drink, and you won't have to worry so much about regulating the humidity in your cage. Important things to note: don't run this full time. I know from experience, if you run it full time, it'll fill your whole cage with fog. And if you've ever put your head into a big thing of fog that comes out of one of these, you can't breathe. You don't want to do that to your geckos. They need to be able to breathe and not be sucking in humidity to their lungs like that. So don't run it full time. Definitely put this guy on a timer if you can. You can also, ZooMed makes an automatic humidity gauge that you can hook this up to, that in theory will test your humidity in your cage, and if it gets too low, it'll turn this on. I don't remember offhand how much it is, but I know it's really expensive, and I've heard they don't work all that well. I would just go to your local hardware store, get a $5 wall timer, and use it like that. Set it for half an hour every 6 hours, and keep an eye on your humidity levels. If it's too much, cut it back to 15 minutes every 6 hours. If it's not enough, bump it up to every 4 hours. It'll take a week at most. Just keeping an eye on your cage to dial this thing in, and it'll make keeping your cage, the humidity levels in your cage, much easier. One more thing to note: the water that comes out of here is perfectly safe for your geckos to drink. The mechanism in here, the hypersonic mechanism that creates the fog, does not do anything to the water. It doesn't add anything to the water. There's no reason that you can't have your geckos drink the water that comes right out of here. So when it pools up, it's perfectly safe to your geckos to drink. No worries there. Don't worry about that at all. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fill this guy up. We're gonna plug it in and see how this thing works. All right, I went ahead and filled up the reservoir with water here. I put it on top. You can see some is missing now. It's drained down into the base to cover that ultrasonic, whatever it's called, the little ultrasonic disc in there that makes the fog. Let's turn this bad boy on and try it real quick. I just wanted to mention, I looked through and read the instructions. It's got like assembly and operation. As you can see, it's pretty simple to assemble. Nothing much in here that's of note. The only thing I saw is it says, don't touch the ultrasonic disc, the thing that makes the fog. Don't stick your finger on it. I've done this before in the past. It feels like it electrocutes you. I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but it hurts, and it's like zapping your finger. Don't do it. You don't want to get hurt. It also says in the instructions, do not put your finger in the end of the tube because injury could occur. I don't know. All right, let's try this. I'm gonna do it without the tube so we can just see if the fog comes on. Let's see. Well, there you go. That's on low setting. You can see already that nice fog coming out. It's spitting some water out too, but that won't be a problem when the tube's on. And then the higher you turn it, the thicker the fog gets. Pretty cool. Seems to work pretty well. Now I'm curious, this one does not have a built-in fan. I know some of these come with a fan that push the fog up through the hose. This one seems to be working pretty well, but I wonder how well that works when the hose gets extended and is going all the way up. I know this is going to be off camera, but this is fully extended all the way up and the fog is coming out perfectly fine. So it doesn't seem to need a fan actually. So the way this works is you would just arrange this like this. So obviously I don't have anything to hold this. That's the only downside, or one of the downsides I should say, to this that I see, is it should come with some sort of clip or attachment to hold this over the top of your cage, because otherwise, I mean, you can kind of like turn it like that and set it there, and it works, but it's not working fantastic. Like as soon as this gets bumped, it's just gonna fall right off. So it'd be nice if you could attach it to the cage in some way. If it would come with something to help you do that, that would be a big plus. But if your cage is in a place where it's not gonna get knocked, you can put this right behind your cage where it's not really gonna be seen. Just set this guy right on top, and you can see already that cage is completely full of fog just from having it on high for a few seconds. So I'm thinking if you put this guy on low, yeah, for 10 or 15 minutes and had it run every couple hours, you're gonna get a nice humidity level in there. You can see that fog slowly starts to settle to the bottom. So having the whole cage full of fog for a few minutes isn't gonna hurt your geckos. So what I meant earlier when I said don't leave it on all the time is just that. Don't leave it on all the time. Imagine trying to live in there where you can't even see the other side of the cage because the fog is so thick. Your gecko's not gonna like that. So I would definitely do that with a timer, put it on low, run it for 10 or 15 minutes every 4 to 6 hours, and then play with it. See what you need to do to get your humidity levels right, and you should be good to go. Overall, let's see, my basic thoughts, pros and cons. I wish the water reservoir was a little bit bigger just to make it so you didn't have to refill it so often, although I think this is probably going to be okay. I wish the hose is just kind of cheap. It doesn't really it doesn't have much of a way that it sticks on there. It doesn't attach in any way, and it obviously doesn't come with any sort of attachment to the top of the tank. Yeah, there's nothing else in the box. So that would be the main thing that I would change, is having it a little more secure, stuck to the machine, and then obviously having it attached to the cage in some way. And other than that, I really don't see any other cons to this. It's a pretty solid piece for $45 what I paid for this. I definitely think it's worth it, especially if you're someone who isn't home a lot, or you travel, or you plan on going on vacation. This would be a great piece to make sure your geckos stay nice and humid and happy and healthy while you're gone. I'm definitely going to be giving this unit to my daughter for her gecko that she has in her bedroom. We can set it up and it'll just run fog into her cage a few times a day, keep her gecko nice and humid, because our house is really dry, like I said, here in Colorado. Great unit. I would recommend this, guys. I can't speak to longevity, obviously, because I just got it, but everything else about it, build quality, how it works, it seems to function just fine. It pushes out plenty of fog. My only real complaints, like I said, the hose is pretty flimsy. It doesn't attach right. The water reservoir should be bigger, and it's not exactly an attractive piece to go with a real attractive vivarium. But other than that, great piece. Highly recommend it. If you guys are interested in one of these, I will put a link down below where you can find them. Also, most of your major chain pet stores are going to have them. That's going to do it for me today, guys. If you have any questions, if I missed anything, if you wanted to know anything I didn't cover, comments down below. I'll always try to get back to you if I can. Otherwise, I'm Brian, altitudeexotics.com/AEGeckos on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys soon.